Hello everyone, my name is Jeffrey Pereira, and today I'm here at the Stanford University with Dr. John Hennessy. He is the 10th president of Stanford, a winner of the Turing Award, and the chairman of the Alphabet Incorporated, the parent company of Google. Dr. Hennessy, it is an absolute pleasure to be here speaking with you.
Delighted to be here.
So, I'd like to start by asking, who are you and what do you do?
I'm a computer scientist and electrical engineer, so most of my life I've done teaching and research in those fields, and that's been the predominant part of my life. Obviously, I moved into being a university administrator along the way and doing other things. I'm also a successful entrepreneur, having started 2 companies.
Wonderful. Take me back to your earlier years, from your childhood to studying electrical engineering as an undergrad. When you think back, what is your earliest memory of falling in love with the sciences?
You know, I got interested in science early on. Like a lot of young people, I had my chemistry kit and I had other things to build things, experiment with mechanical things and build those out. And then I got interested in computing in the really early days of computing, when computers were remote, no personal computers, and you had to use them over essentially a telephone line. But that got me interested in computing in my high school days.
Could you have seen yourself doing anything outside of a career in science, computer science?
I don't think so. I was always kind of a science engineer kind of guy, and that was what I was going to do from the beginning. Of course, I found my own way and kind of focused on the problems I wanted to focus on, but that was always my dream.
If you could name a few, which individuals have had the most valuable impact on the trajectory of your life, and how?
So I'd say a couple people. My math teacher, who was the one who encouraged me to work hard and to push myself in high school. The person in my undergraduate years who was taught a lot of the computing courses and really was the person who got me involved in research and really learning more about computers in depth. And then, of course, when I went to graduate school, my Ph.D. advisor.
Wonderful. As teenagers, we're often told the quote, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." What were your friends growing up like? And to what extent do you agree with this statement?
Well, my friends were interested in some of the same things I was interested in, certainly in high school. And my close buddy, who was a kind of techie guy, and he did our science fair project together with me, which was a tic-tac-toe machine that we built out of spare relays and things like that. So that was we kind of did it together and learned together how to attack these kind of problems.
That's wonderful. What defines a great entrepreneur, and who or what taught you to be one?
I think the best entrepreneurs are people who start with a fundamental discovery or advance in the field and really try to leverage that. I'm almost an accidental entrepreneur. I didn't intend to do that. I did some research, discovered a really interesting better way to build computers, and then was urged by a bunch of people in the field to become an entrepreneur. And eventually we decided that they were right, that in order to get this technology out, we probably needed to do a startup.
How does someone in high school who may or may not have an income or the independence of an adult in, say, industry, how do they develop their entrepreneurial skills?
Well, I think there's so much information you available online now. You can get courses on entrepreneurship. You can learn the basics of it. You can read about and study other successful entrepreneurs along the way and understand how they had their journey. And I think those are good ways to kind of understand that process and how it works.
What is your hot take?
My hot take? My hot take on what?
Just on anything.
You know, I think the amazing thing about technology is how far it's come over the years. I mean, I'm a child originally of having computers that were as big as a room and slower than your iPhone. And now you can buy that computer, which used to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for less than $1,000.
What was your first computer?
The first computer I had where I actually owned it, as opposed to using a compute remotely, was a Radio Shack TRS-80 called the Trash 80, they used to call it, which was a kind of four lines in an LCD, and that was it. And you kind of type in, and it could run BASIC though, and you could use it for other functions. But it was a predecessor to what we think of as laptops today. But that was 5, 6, 7, 8 years before laptops really became capable.
What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure? Oh, geez, I guess probably some kinds of food. Probably good food.
Tell me about a moment when it all clicked, when you knew you made the right career choice.
When I got a job offer from Stanford, I knew I made the right career choice. I wanted to be an academic. I wanted to be a professor. I wanted to work with young people. And when I got the offer, I knew I'd make the right choice.
Describe the most thrilling experience in both your entrepreneurial and engineering career thus far. What really keeps you coming back?
Well, I think that process of discovery and innovation and working with students. So a big part of my life has been working closely with students, because they're the ones who come with interesting new ideas and approaches and a willingness to try something really different and bold. And so for me, that's been the key. You know, when you start a company, a great moment is when the company goes public. I mean, it's an incredible moment for the company to achieve that level of achievement.
So you are the current chairman of Alphabet Inc., right? What sets you apart from competitors in your industry?
What sets Alphabet apart?
No, you as an individual.
Oh, me as an individual.
As a chairman.
You know, I because I have experience both in the entrepreneurship side, experience in managing a large institution and helping lead it, Stanford, and because I'm also a technical person. So those are the attributes I bring to try to make Alphabet a better company.
Now, you are part of the founding board chair of Atheros Communications, which is one of the early developers of Wi-Fi technology. What does it feel like to be on the frontier of advancement, to lack the ability to turn to books, papers, or Google for answers?
Well, it's challenging, but it's also exciting, because you're developing a technology. Lots of people thought that what we were trying to do at Atheros, which was really to push Wi-Fi technology and make it really cost effective. Lots of people thought too hard, too bridge, too far. Come back in 5 years and try it in 5 years. But I had a great partner, Teresa Ming, with me that really believed the technology was doable, and we proved it was doable. And you could really, and when Intel said, we're going to design Wi-Fi chips into every prototype PC, every laptop we make, I knew the technology was going to make it.
What is a lesson you learned a lot as a child that you only truly understood when you experienced it yourself?
I think the lesson I learned probably that I really understood later on was how challenging it is to be a parent, because once you become one, then you understand the challenge of being a parent. And when you're a child, you don't really understand it.
Where do you go and what do you do when you need to solve a problem or you're stumped?
I usually go for a walk. I go for a walk, or I do something kind of where I'm not terribly distracted. And then what I try to do is I try to sketch out what the solution might work. So I'll go to a walk, I'll come back, I'll write some notes down, just kind of a rough idea of how I might approach it.
What keeps you going amidst all the challenges you face?
I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do.
Describe to me step by step and in detail the steps you've taken to reach the level of success that you have.
Oh, that's a hard question. You know, I've been lucky along the way. I've taken advantage of opportunities. I tried to do something different and really make a difference in my research and my teaching. And I think the other thing is I saw opportunities and I grabbed them, and that was a unique way to kind of get ahead. And those bets, luckily, some bit of luck, some bit of good choice, those bets worked out.
What was one of the most exciting aspects of leading the greatest university in the world?
One of the most exciting aspects is helping bring in really great faculty and students and helping them thrive.
Do you think the community of Stanford and the concept of Stanford is easily, or not easily, but replicable anywhere?
Well, probably. It's not. It takes time. It takes a long period of time. What often happens here at Stanford is people come and say, "Oh, I'm at this university. We want to be Stanford," and I said, "That's fine. We want to be Stanford in 10 years." I said, "Well, Stanford couldn't become Stanford in 10 years. Stanford took 50 or 100 years to become. So you need to think about how do you build that and build up the quality of the faculty and the quality of the students, and we have this entrepreneurial mindset, which is really very strong here. Those are all characteristics you could try to build over time."
When you say be Stanford, what does it really mean to be Stanford?
What does it mean? I think we try to be a university that focuses on excellence, that focuses on doing research that makes a difference, and focuses on producing students who go on to make a difference in their lives.
What would you say you brought with you to the table during big conversations?
A willingness to think outside the box and be bold and to try something really radically new.
Where will your dreams take you next?
I hope they'll take me to a place where the world can figure out how to address the really big problems it has in front of it. Climate change, promotion of democracy, pulling people out of poverty. And what I'd like to do is do whatever I can do to contribute either to the research or the education of young people who will become the leaders that take us to a better place for the planet.
Looking back, what would you say to the younger version of yourself?
I'd say pursue what you want to do, chase your dreams, don't be afraid, and be bold in doing that.
Thank you so much.
If you could be president again, would you do it again? Right now?
Oh, not right now. I would do it if I were earlier again. I loved it. I loved the job. It was a really fantastic job.
So what made you design your very own scholarship? What drove that idea?
What drove that idea was a notion that I felt that we had a leadership void around the world. Certainly political leaders, but also in industry, even in the nonprofit sector. And what I wanted to do was build a program that would bring together great young people, help them study in their graduate work, but also help them build the skills necessary to become that next generation of leaders that we need.
How do you become a great speaker and answer questions so concise and so perfect despite knowing the questions that we have here?
Practice. I've done it many times. I did it for 16 years as president with lots of big audiences. I've done it with lots of undergraduates asking all kinds of strange questions about the university. So that was good practice.
Good. You have a book titled Leading Matters. What's the main takeaway from that book, and how can I apply that to my life?
I think the main takeaway is that good leadership is a set of principles on which you run your life. Probably first and foremost, leadership as service, really a service to the community or institution you're leading, and then a set of skills that you can develop: good communication, the ability to collaborate, the ability to work together, curiosity, the ability to chase new things and pursue them. So I think putting those things together is what makes great leaders.
So what was your biggest adversity in becoming the president of Stanford?
Well, it's kind of two different issues. I'm the first engineer president, a computer science president of the university. That was a real change. In order to do that, because we are a comprehensive university, I had to really be willing to learn about other fields that I didn't know anything about, and what the interesting areas and the things faculty were working on. Not become an expert in their discipline, certainly, but learn to appreciate their work and what they were doing.
Gotcha. So tell us about your biggest contribution to technical machinery that changed computer science forever.
Well, together with my colleague Dave Patterson, we were kind of on the frontier of what became reduced instruction set computing, and really a new way of thinking about computers, as well as a new way of thinking about designing computers that was much more based on engineering principles rather than on more qualitative measures of how to build computers. So we wrote a textbook together that's now, we're working on the 7th edition of the textbook. So the first version was published before you were born in 1990, and we're now on the 7th edition that we're working on, and it's been used around the world. So I've had students from probably 100 different countries who've used the book over time. So that's a great way to help educate the world.
So how did you find yourself partnering up with Google?
I knew the Google guys when they were graduate students here, and I knew about the search engine early on and saw early demos of it. And, so I've had a relationship with them. And when they were increasing the size of the board, they asked me if I would join the board. And that was what, probably 14 years ago or so.
What comes first, cereal or the milk?
Oh, what comes first? I actually don't put milk in my cereal. I put yogurt. So I guess the yogurt comes first.
A wise quote said by a wise man is, a leader takes a group of people in a direction they need to go, while a manager figures out the logistics. How applicable is this quote to your rise in success?
I'm definitely the leader, and I definitely have key people on my team who help manage the process.
What is Moore's Law, and do you agree with Moore's Law?
Moore's Law is not a law in the sense that we think of laws in physics or chemistry. It's an observation that the capacity of semiconductor chips, of the chips that power everything from our iPhones to our computers to our cars, would increase exponentially. And what's happening to Moore's Law is it's slowing down. Or as Gordon Moore said, no exponential can continue forever. And so it's beginning to plateau, and the result of that is that we're starting to see that computers no longer will increase in performance and decrease in price at the rate at which they once did.
You have a video titled, "It's the Beginning of the End of the Computer Industry."
Yeah.
Explain that for us, please.
Well, this Moore's Law, together with some other fundamental principles, mean that there's a kind of slowdown in what we're used to. So we have to rethink how we design computers, how we use them. Issues of efficiency all need to be rethought in order that the next generation of computers can really deliver significant enhancements for users.
If I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur within the next 5 years, where would you recommend I start and why?
I'd recommend you find some very good technology, because if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur in 5 years, you ought to have the technology today and demonstrate it today. So that, I think, it starts with that innovation, whether it be technology or a business model or something. That's what it starts with.
Besides ambition, what's the most important quality that an entrepreneur can have?
The ability to recruit and build a world-class team, because it's really hard to start a new successful company, and the quality of the team that you assemble is really crucial to its success.
Understood. And last question, what do you want from the computer industry within the next 10 to 20 years?
Well, if I had a magic wand, what I'd say is a successor to CMOS silicon, right? The current technology that's behind everybody's microprocessor. Right now, we do not have a successor to that technology. If we can find a successor that will enable us to continue the advances that we got through Moore's Law, that would be incredible. And I don't know that there's a successor out there, but I hope a lot of really smart young people are working on one.
Well, we appreciate you, Dr. Hennessy.
Thank you.
Thank you for interviewing us. It's a pleasure. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good luck.